Well, I swear I made a video for this some point in my life. Well, I know I have. I can't find it now, so do it again because it's fun. All right. So here's the deal. I'm going to draw a graph, and it's going to be of some cities. Okay. I don't know. It's Amarillo by morning. Sure. I guess this makes this San Antonio. Big D. Houston, I guess. I don't know. What's down here in the bottom? Oh, come on. What's that town down there? I know it. I know there's a town down there that I like. No, I like that I've heard of that I can pull off the top of my head, but no. Oh, Del Rio. There you go. Yeah, there's a famous singer from there. I can't remember his name, but whatever. I don't care. Good enough for government work. Makes no difference to me. And no, don't sue me because this doesn't match perfectly. I don't care. So, the idea here today is this, is you could fly between all these towns, let's say. You can fly between them all. Okay. Maybe you can't get a direct flight from Amarillo to Del Rio. Maybe there's no direct flight from there to there. Maybe you can fly from here to here to here, and here to here. Clearly you can fly from San Antonio to here, and maybe you can go to there. Okay. Maybe from Houston you can go here and here. Well, I'm guessing you can go from there to there. That's pretty clear. Some things to think about. We're talking about flying. In this particular case, I think it helps to sell the bit. Of course, you could always do it with other things. Okay. When I was a kid, and I'll do my picture later, but you could not get a direct flight to Walla Walla from just anywhere. Okay. You had to go certain places to get a flight to Walla Walla. You couldn't fly in, for instance, direct flight from San Diego. You had to fly to Portland or Seattle and then take the hop over the hill. Okay. Also, I don't think there was any flights directly to Spokane. If you could get a direct flight directly from San Diego to Spokane, then you could have flown down from there. Pretty sure you could have flown. Like, I'm not sure you could get to San Diego to Boise, but you could get from Boise to Walla Walla. So there were probably 4 places that flew to Walla Walla. So you had to get to one of those places to get to there. Okay. Likewise, years and years ago, we went. I had to go to take a trip back to Vermont somewhere. To a town you've never heard of in Vermont. I'd never heard of it. And okay, well, I had to fly into Burlington. Well, except you just can't fly into Burlington from Portland. There's no flights from there. So, you could have gone to JFK or LaGuardia or Newark or Dulles, which we ended up going to DC and then taking the shuttle up there. Cool, whatever. I don't think you can get to Burlington from, for instance, from, let's say, Minneapolis or from Chicago. All right. So you had to get back on the East Coast somewhere on a big flight and then shoot up to there. Okay. So the idea here is these are just flights. So there's a direct flight to Amarillo, to Houston. There are no direct flights from Amarillo to, apparently in this deal, to Del Rio. I'm going to get rid of that one just for fun. Okay. Amarillo is just kind of out by itself. There you go. Cool. Nice. So is Del Rio. So if I were to do this, I could actually make a matrix. And for those of you that hate matrices, I'm sorry. I love matrices. They are awesome. I'll abbreviate just a skosh. And along the side, I'm going to do the same thing. And we're going to create what is referred to as an adjacency matrix. Now, adjacency matrices can be used for several different things. But in the case of flights, can you fly from Amarillo to Amarillo? No. 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 And when it comes to flights, no, you can't. You're not doing that. You're not in a commercial sense of the word. Can you fly from Amarillo to San Antonio? Yep. Can you fly from Dallas to Amarillo? Yep. Del Rio? Nope. Houston? Nope. Okay. Now let's worry about San Antonio. Now, if you look, there were 2 lines going into Amarillo. There's 2 ones you see in Amarillo's line, row and column. For San Antonio, there should be 4 when we're done. So yes, you can go to Dallas. Yes, you can go to Del Rio. Yes, you can go to Houston. What about Dallas? Well, Big D has 3. We've already got 2. The other place it goes is H-Town. And then Del Rio, San Antonio, and Houston. And that's it. Sweet. So this matrix, okay, it's pretty sweet. You're like, oh, well, what am I going to do with it? Okay, well, I'm glad you asked. Okay. Now I'm going to demonstrate this two ways, actually. So I'm going to take this matrix and I'm going to call it A, big A matrix. Okay. And I'm going to look at a couple things about it. So first I'm going to show this in Excel. I love Excel, as you well know. And so I'm going to do it this way because I think it's easier for me to do. I'm going to go down the column when I enter it here. And go up, you hippie. Oh, I did not hit the sticky key. 1 0 1 1 1. Cool. If this is a big matrix, I'd probably spend some time copying and transposing, but this is not a very big matrix. I'm just going to type it in as I go. Find it probably just as easy. 0. Get up there. Move. Cool. And then, of course, for Houston, notice that Houston's this column. It's also that bottom row, so I can just transpose the bottom row. Correct? Makes sense? Nice. Get over there. Now, if you've never done matrices in Excel, you can do them. What I'm going to take a look at is, well, what happens when I take A squared? Okay? And once you understand this concept, this is like a 5-minute procedure, and you're like, oh, cool. I'm going to find A squared. But here's the thing. I don't know necessarily what it means. So I want to show you where this comes from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the matrix. This is a 5 by 5 matrix. So I'm going to end up with a 5 by 5 matrix when I'm done. In Excel, you must do that first. So it's called mmult. This is matrix multiplication. Comma. Grab it again. Okay. Close your parentheses. And then it's Control, Shift, Enter. Boom. This guy right here is A squared. Okay. Now, what in the heck does A squared mean? I'm glad you asked. What is this telling me? I don't know. Let's find out. Okay. So let's take a look at this right here. Okay. That's the second row, third column. So second row, third column, okay, is going from San Antonio to Dallas. And notice that what do we have there? There's a 2 there. So what that's actually telling us is this. A squared, I'm going to write down here. A squared tells us the number of 2 flight paths from A to B, or from point A to point B, if you will. Okay. So in this case, from San Antonio to Dallas. Now you'll notice that flights are unidirectional, or I'm sorry, not unidirectional. They're bidirectional. I can go from San Antonio to Houston or vice versa. Yes. So when I look at that, okay, don't be hung up on that because I can go from B to A or A to B. So wait a minute. San Antonio to Dallas in 2 flights. How can that happen? Well, I could go here or I could go here. Well, that's nice. Is that the only way to do it? Yeah, it's the only way to do it. That's it. Okay. Now, what would it mean like on this guy where it says 4? Well, that's how many ways I can get from San Antonio to San Antonio in 2 flights. Want to see them? 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. There they are. Hey, does this work for A cubed, Jay? Yes. Yes, it does. So if one were to do this, so again, highlight a 5 by 5. This is in Excel. If you don't choose to use Excel, I'll show you the TI-89 in just a moment. mmult. Okay, but notice that I'm going to take this matrix here, which was A, and I'm going to multiply it by A squared, and I will get, of course, A cubed. Right? Boom! Nice. Now, check this out. I want to go from, let's do this one here, shall we? 7. That's to get from, second row is San Antonio, is that right? San Antonio to Houston, okay? How many ways can I get from San Antonio to Houston in 3 flights? Supposedly there's 7. Let's see if we can find them. Well, here's an obvious one. Nice. Okay, here is, let's see if I can do another one here. Oh, this is a boring one. Nice. Here we go. Pump, pump, pump. Well, that's stupid, Jay. Well, I'm well aware of that. In other words, some of these will give us options or flight paths that no one would ever do. Like I could get there in 2, but I'm going to get there in 1, but I'm going to fly somewhere else and then come back to it. Huh? Huh? So we would call those a trivial path, right? In other words, no one would ever do that really in the real world. Now, like, where would these be used? Well, do like the Travelocities use a version of this? Indeed, they do. Yeah, behind the scenes, that's what's going on. And so they will find all the ways to get you there in, nonstop. That's obvious. And then what if it's not nonstop? Then they'll look for 2-path flights and so on and so on and so on. Okay? And of course, those matrices are ginormous. Because, there's a lot of places. Like you want to go to middle of, I don't know, somewhere out in the middle of Egypt there in, I don't know, Missouri. Good for you. Great. Whatever. So you're like, well, does anywhere fly directly into there? Well, St. Louis maybe. Okay, cool. Or Kansas City maybe. So then you're like, well, okay, but whatever. Then but you're flying from wherever you're flying from. Let's say you live out in the middle of Egypt somewhere too, a different part of the country. So you got to fly to a big hub, or you got to fly to a big hub and then fly to a different hub in order to catch a plane that'll take you to St. Louis. Then you got to get a little hopper down to wherever it is you're going in Missouri. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay, that's what's happening here. That's one of the big purposes of the adjacency matrix. Now, if you have TI-89, which again I do like my TI-89, I'm going to go ahead and do this here real quick. This is how I like to do matrices in it. There's a couple of ways. I think the easiest way is to go bracket, and then you can type in the row. So 0, 1, 1, 0, oh, you hippie, 0, 0, semicolon. And then the second row, so it's 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. By the way, what would it mean, just out of curiosity, if there was a 2 here? That would just mean there's 2 flights from San Antonio to Houston, okay? As a matter of fact, from Portland to Seattle, there's probably like 9 or something a day, or whatever it is. It's a lot, right? So there would be a 9, for instance, in that scenario. I don't want to gloss over that as if that never happens, because it totally does happen. Okay, and then I'm going to hit stow. That's the stow button down here. I'm going to stow it as a, whatever you do, if you've never stored a variable in a TI-89 before, never store it as X, Y, Z, or T, you will regret it. I promise you. Okay? I promise you, you will regret it. Because you'll be trying to graph something and it'll go like, oh, improper something, something. Yeah, exactly. So what I'm going to do here is going to simply go equal. I'm going to clear this. I'm going to go A, so alpha, A squared. Boom. Want A cubed. Boom. Done. And so forth and so on and so on. Okay. Clearly, the more times you do it, the more ways there are to get there, especially in a scenario where there are, everybody's pretty much connected. In other words, okay. If you wanted to go, and I'm going to try to draw this picture up here a little bit better. So here's Seattle and P-Town and Spokane. Walla Walla. Okay. Boise. Bozeman. In the old days, there used to be a Pendleton. And you might be able to get from Pendleton to here, and maybe get from Walla Walla to here. Okay. Only. Something like that. Okay. And let's include something else. Let's include billings. Okay. So if you look at that, this adjacency matrix is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 towns. It's going to be an 8 by 8 matrix this time. Good night, nurse. That's a lot. It is. So I'm going to, it doesn't matter what order you put them in, just be consistent. P, Pendleton, Walla Walla, Bozeman, Billings, Spokane. Oh. Maybe you spell it out, Jay. Bozeman, Boise, and Billings. Whatever, okay? And so then down the side, you have the exact same thing. P, Pendleton, Walla Walla, Bozeman, Boise, Spokane, Billings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Beautiful. Obviously, I'm not going to Seattle. Seattle, oh, probably should be Seattle to Portland. I'm going to include 2 Seattle to Portland trips, okay? You with me on that? Seattle to Pendleton is not doable. Seattle to Walla Walla apparently is not doable either, so I'm just going to pretend. That was not true. There used to be a flight straight. Well, I'm going to include that. You know what? I'm going to include it. Seattle to Walla Walla. Boom, done. Okay. So, Seattle to Bozeman, no. Seattle to Boise, yes. Spokane, yes. And Billings, no. Okay. So if I do this right, okay, I'm just going to copy, of course, that down the side. Nice. Now let's talk about Portland. Okay, there should be 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 ones on that one. So I've already got 2. I need to include Pendleton, and I need to include Boise. All right, everything else is going to be zeros. Okay. Nice. Okay, what about Pendleton? Well, it just goes to Walla Walla and Portland. Well, I already got Portland, so there's my Walla Walla connection. Boom, done. The rest of them are goose eggs. Okay, nice. Walla Walla. It's Pendleton and Seattle. Well, that means I've got everybody taken care of. That means that the rest of them are goose eggs. Nice. Bozeman, it's just Billings and Spokane. So Bozeman is Billings and Spokane. Oop. Uh-oh, what just happened? Oh, you weenie. There you go. Sorry. Boise should have 3 in its row and column, and it has 2 currently. We need to add Spokane. Spokane needs to have 1, 2, 3. Spokane currently has 1, 2, 3. And of course, you can't fly from Billings to Billings. That's goofy. Okay? So there's my 8 by 8 matrix, my A matrix. Now, listen, here's the fun to watch on this guy. I'm going to go ahead and enter this in into this. I want to show you this too. Whenever you do this and you're like, I'm done now with what happened here? Something weird. Yeah. So if you hit second F1, which is F6, you hit clear AZ. Now you've cleared it out. Now if I hit A, there's nothing there. Okay. So if someday you accidentally save something to something you didn't want it to, or you're done with it, that's how you clear it out. 0, 2, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. This will take me a bit, so I don't know. Talk amongst yourselves while this is going on, I guess. Oh, you dummy. And then 4 more. Okay, and then that was woola woola, yes, and then so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. And then 2 1s, and then 4 zeros. And then 1 and 3 zeros. Those of you with Inspire, this works exactly the same way as I'm putting this in. That's one way to do it. There's other ways. That's my favorite way. It's just using the brackets. I find it easier. Oops. Dummy. Which one are you on, stupid? No, 0. Dope. No, crap. Oh, no. No, 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 no. What just happened? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That should be a to-do. And I'm going to go 0, comma, 0, comma, 0, comma, 0, comma, 1, comma, 0, comma, 0, comma, 0. Stow as A. Cross your fingers, I didn't mess something up. Nice! And there it is, friend. Now watch. A squared. Anywhere there's a 0 means you cannot do it. In other words, check it out. Pendleton to Billings, that's that 0 right there in this bottom row, second one over. You can't get there in 2 flights, okay? If I try 3 flights, there are 3 ways that I can get from Pendleton to Billings in 3 flights. Let's see if that's true. So from Pendleton to Billings in 3 flights, okay? Well, it looks like I could get from Pendleton, Portland to Billings in 3 flights. Wait, did I mess it up? Billings. What just happened? Oh no. Portland to Billings in 3 flights. I may have typed something in funny. That would be very annoying. Let's try a different one. Make sure that I got everything right here. Right. Let's look at this 9 here. That should be Pendleton. That should be Portland to the third one down is Portland to the third one down is Pendleton in 3 flights. Okay. Well, that's 1, 2, 3. That doesn't really count. 1, 2, 3. That does count. And then 1, 2, 3. That does count. How many did I say there was? There should be 9 of these to be able to do. Okay. And I guess you could fly to Seattle, back to Portland, and then over there. Lame. You can go to Boise and back, and then go to Pendleton. Again, lame. So some of those are really dumb. But there they are. My thought on this one here is, what happened? What just happened? Okay, hit enter. Oh no. Oh no. I may have made a little boober on this, but it sure looks like that from Portland to Billings, you should be able to do it in 3 ways to get there in 3 flights. I'm not seeing that. 1, 2, 3. It should be, maybe I put something in wrong. I must have typed something in goofy there. So that's the gist of it, though. That's how this thing works. Okay. Again, you can see that even with 8 little cities, if your data is wrong, I mean, the whole thing goes to heck in a handbag. If this was all the flights in the U.S., where again, it's not just 2 flights from Seattle to Portland a day. It's a lot of them every day. Okay. You could see where you need a big computer to do this. Is what you need. Okay. But this is how the game is played. Not very hard. It's kind of fun almost. Now, one other thing that adjacency matrices are used for is planning purposes. Okay. So right now we're getting a new bond together for the high school. The shops aren't going to move at all. They're talking about moving some other stuff around. Okay. One thing, we have this daycare / preschool slash, oh my gosh, it's out of hand in the high school. It's always been in the math department area, which has always annoyed me because I taught math for years. And for years, there's a patch of grass out behind the football stadium. It's already fenced in. Under the stadium is this big open area, but it's covered. A perfect place for an outdoor-indoor playground, covered playground. The fence is already fenced around. You could drive in and drop your kid off without having to come in the building. It's amazing. Last year we spent something like $25,000 for all these automated door locks, and everybody get cards and everything. And you're like, oh, it's gonna make our school safer. And then they hand them out to these people who come to get their kids. Okay, which in theory, okay, sure, yeah, they're coming to get their kids. That's great. But they have cards. They can get in the building. Now, granted, you can shut that card down different times of the day. But here you let people in the community in. Did they keep their card? Did they lose it? What happened to those cards? You know, just totally unsafe. And I'm like, this is so dumb. And so for years I've been saying, let's move them out there. But no one will hear of that. Some places you would not want the daycare obviously can't be close to itself. If in a perfect world, it would not be close to the math department. It would not be adjacent to the math department. That's just personal philosophy. You would not want it next to the shop. You cannot have those little buggers trying to nap when I'm taking off tires and with the impact. It's not a good idea. Okay. You know, I personally don't care if the math department's by the shop, whatever, but you know, whatever. You probably wouldn't want the band room near that. But band and choir, now, band, choir, it's quite possible that you would like them. Oops, not the daycare. That'd be weird. But band and choir, you might want them to be adjacent to one another. Okay? It's possible that, let's make this the auto shop and the wood shop. It's possible you'd like both of those shops to be close to one another. The auto. Those would you like them to be close together. Okay? And so for design purposes, you might want all your academic subjects to be adjacent to a computer lab. Okay, what adjacent means what? I don't know. You don't have to walk that far to get there. Same thing with bathrooms, same thing with other things. So adjacency matrix are sometimes used, or a modified form of them are used when it comes to planning purposes for buildings. Okay, some of these things you want to force them to not be adjacent to one another. Okay, right now they're talking about moving the daycare to where it's quote unquote adjacent to the parking lot, so that the parents can just drop off their kids at the outside door without having to traipse through the building to get to it, which, okay, that makes sense, of course. You know, that sort of thing. Science department, obviously, you want all the science rooms to be adjacent to one another, clearly. You know, whatever. So different things you want to go together. There's some classes like English and history. Our departments, those two departments used to work together hand in hand all the time. And so you'd kind of want them to be adjacent to one another if they're going to be putting together, you know, like we're going to do writing about what? Whatever, we're studying history. Okay, cool. So that's just another modified version of it, and they use them in there as well. Again, it's graph theory. Okay, the difference being is when I'm flying, I would like cities to be adjacent to one another, or to see how adjacent they are to one another, or how many steps you have to take to get there. Okay. Versus in a design, oftentimes you want to either force things to be non-adjacent, or you want them to force them to be adjacent. And it's just, it helps to see how close you are. And of course, you have to define adjacent. You know, how close are they, you know, walking distance, right? You don't necessarily have to have a computer lab in the math department, but if it's like between the English department and the math department or something where you can kind of both take turns using it, maybe that's the idea. Okay. Again, never been into the design process in terms of that. Just know, or where it's been used in that regard, but I know that there are some things that you talk about that. So then what you can do then is have the computer check, did you meet all the fundamentals there? Is everybody adjacent who's supposed to be? Is everybody non-adjacent who is supposed to be? Okay. A while back I gave them a bunch of ideas what they could do with this daycare thing besides the other one. So then they're talking about moving it to the art building, moving the art people out of the art building. I'm like, but the art building is pretty much right next to the shop, and I'm like, why would you do that? I'm not going to be quiet so these little buggers can sleep. That's not going to happen. And plus, it seems a little dangerous if someone opens the door and they come out and where the shops are. That seems dumb. I'm like, no, well, I think we're going to move the library and put them where the library is. I'm like, oh, whatever. But again, in this case, for safety purposes, you'd want all the offices to be adjacent to one another. One would think that you'd kind of like to have the athletic office kind of by, the gym, where it'd be easy to to get in from the outside, so people come in, parents could pay the bill, whatever needs to be done, talk to the athletic director. But then also be nice if you didn't have to walk 17 miles to get to the gym and the football field and everything else every time you had to go do something, which, the guy does all the time. He's always on the run. But the way our building was designed, his office is like in the front of the building. He's got to walk, I don't know. It's a long, 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 long hallway down to the gym. And then you go out past the gym and then walk another, like, I don't know, it's probably almost most of a half mile from his office walking out to the football field. And you're like, well, why wouldn't you put his office at the other end of things? But, I didn't design the place. So some things to think about. And part of that, it was scabbed on over time. If you keep adding on a little bit of this, add on a little bit of this, move some of this, add on that. And, that gets out of hand, obviously. But if you were starting from scratch, you'd want to take that into account. Anyway, that's enough said about matrices.